Hi, welcome back to another Pure Pixels Creative Showcase, a place where we explore creativity through projects, experiments, ideas, and creative problem solving. Whether it's logo design, branding, photography, digital art, paintings, storytelling, or exploring creative opportunities. This showcase is about the creative journey, not just the final result. So the thinking, the process, the experimentation is everything we learn along the way. Over the last few episodes, we've been working on a creative challenge built around a single word: gravity. We used a random word selected from a random word generator. No client, no brief, no restrictions. Just one word and one question. How many different identities can be created from a single idea? And throughout the challenge, we created 3 completely different brands: Gravity Streetwear, Gravity Systems, and Gravity Power Gear. 3 industries, 3 audiences, 3 completely different outcomes. But today's showcase isn't about creating another logo. Today's showcase is about what happens after the logo. Because once the logo is finished, the real work needs to begin. Questions like, how does it look in the real world, start to surface. How does it behave on products? How does it communicate through branding? How does it live inside a portfolio? How does it exist inside Decentraland or Web3? And perhaps most importantly, how do we help other people visualize what we've created? So, this video is about exploring applications. Let's get into it. One of the biggest mistakes new creatives make is stopping after the logo. They create the logo, export the file, and consider the project complete. But branding doesn't exist on an empty white canvas. Brands exist in the real world, right? On products, on buildings, on websites, on social media, on packaging, on clothing, on experiences. And that's why application matters. Because application helps people understand the idea. A logo by itself is a symbol. A logo applied to something becomes part of the brand. And sometimes the difference between an average presentation and a great presentation is simply showing people how the brand lives. That's where mockups become useful. Not because they are realistic, but because they help visualize possibilities. Let's start with the first idea, right? The first idea we created was the Gravity Streetwear. When we created this project, the focus wasn't technology. It wasn't sport. it was culture, it was fashion, it was self-expression, and visual identity. So naturally, the strongest applications aren't going to be stuff like business cards or software dashboards. The strongest applications are going to be fashion related stuff, right? So things like a t-shirt mock-up, hoodie mock-ups, apparel mock-ups, street campaigns, fashion photography mock-ups, shopping bags, label mock-ups, poster mock-ups, stuff like that. Those are the environments where the brand is gonna feel most at home. And what's interesting is that once the logo leaves Illustrator and appears on a real product, it immediately feels more believable, more tangible, more real. So suddenly you're no longer looking at a logo, you're looking at a fashion brand. And that's the power of application. And you can do this with any brand in any category or any field. Now let's look at gravity systems. So this one is a technology company. Unlike the fashion brand, this identity exists in a completely different environment. Technology companies don't live on hoodies, they live inside systems, interfaces, platforms, websites, applications, digital products, and so forth. So when building mockups for this project, the focus changes completely, right? So you look for mockups that are more website related, like your website homepage, software interface, like to show the dashboard, mobile applications to show maybe like mobile apps, corporate environments, maybe show office signage and stuff like that, conferences, conference booth, technology conferences, invitation spaces, and suddenly the logo will start to feel like a company, not because the logo changed, but because the environment changed. Application tells a story, and in this case, the story is technology, is innovation, systems, and future thinking. Now let's look at the third identity, which is gravity power gear. This one is a sports and performance brand. When creating this identity, the focus became strength, movement, progress, discipline, and performance, of course, which means its application needs to reflect those values. So what you go look for in terms of mockups or images and stuff like that, we look for training gear, stuff like gym gloves, we show sports accessories, like water bottles, athletic equipment, like your duffel bags, performance apparel or training apparel. We show sports posters and stuff like fitness campaigns, and much like pretty much or close to like the streetwear brand kind of mockups. The identity starts becoming believable once it enters its natural environment. And that's the whole idea of application, so that what you've designed or what you've created, you can see in its full natural environment. So the symbol becomes more than a logo. It becomes a badge, something people associate with performance and improvement. So before we dive deep, or before I show the full breadth of the mockups I've created for these brands, I want to talk about something that many creatives overlook, and that is presentation, right? Because creating great work and presenting great work are actually two different skills. And if you're a designer, if you are an artist, if you are a photographer, a painter, a content creator, or anyone working in a creative field, learning how to present your work can completely change how people perceive it. Because here's the reality: most people don't understand design the same way designers do. Most people don't understand photography as most photographers do, right? And so they don't need, or they don't see the hours of exploration that is put in, the failed concepts, the refinements, the small decisions that ultimately shape the final result. They are not usually part of the process. All they see is what you choose to show them. And that's why presentation matters. I mean, a strong presentation helps people understand the value of your work. Not by telling them it's valuable, but by showing them. A logo by itself is a logo. A logo with context becomes a brand. A painting by itself is a painting. A painting with a story becomes an experience. A photograph by itself is an image, but a photograph with intention becomes a narrative. And that's exactly what your portfolio should do, or your body of work or presentation should do. It should tell a story, not just display files. One of the many mistakes creatives make is uploading a logo onto a white background and calling it a portfolio piece, or calling it a showcase of their work. And technically, yes, you've shown the logo, you've shown the work, but you haven't shown the project. You haven't shown the thinking, you haven't shown the possibilities, and you haven't shown people how the logo actually works. So instead of asking, how do I show my logo? Ask, how do I showcase it? How do I showcase this brand better? Because clients don't buy logos, they buy solutions. And your customers don't buy your brand because it's you. They buy the brand because it solves a problem that they have. Communities don't buy symbols, they buy identity. People don't buy graphics, they buy stories. And that's where project showcases become powerful, because a lot of creatives a lot of designers, a lot of musicians don't have their project showcases. They usually don't have a place or a way in which they can showcase their projects more efficiently, more professionally, and better than what is already out there. So okay, so let me do this. Another part that's very important than the logo itself, and that is what happens after the project is finished, right? So obviously we're already touching up on that in this application stage, because over the years I've noticed that many creatives know how to create, but they don't always know how to showcase. They don't always know how to present, and that's what we're going to be touching on now. They don't always know how to put their work into places where other people can actually discover it. And so let's change our perspective for a moment, right? Imagine you're not a logo designer. Well, I'm sure a lot of you are not. Imagine you're a musician. Imagine you're a painter. Imagine you're a photographer. Imagine you're a digital artist. Maybe you are a content creator, right? So imagine, just take whatever it is, whatever creative thing you do, and maybe you're building something right here in Decentraland. No matter what creative field you are in, the challenge is usually the same. You have work, now what? And that's where I think every creative person should build a simple framework, right? Every creative person should have a simple framework, a framework that helps move projects from ideas into opportunities, and not through expensive tools either, right? Not through complicated systems, but through consistency and presentation. It's something we might call the creative showcase framework, right? It's basically a simple process that can be adapted to almost any creative discipline. And obviously it starts with an idea, right? So this framework starts with an idea, it goes to creation, and then goes to application, then presentation, then portfolio, distribution, and then that leads to opportunity. So let's break that down a bit, because this exact Gravity project followed these same steps. The first stage is the idea. What are you creating? Who is it for? What problem are you solving? For this project, the idea was simple. One word, Gravity, 3 completely different identities. That's all we started with, right? And we already mentioned this. Then comes creation. This is where most creatives spend their time. Designing, painting, writing, recording, filming, building. Whatever your medium happens to be. But here's the important part. Creation is only part of the process. Because once the work exists, you need to help people understand it. That's where application comes in. How does your work exist in the real world? If you're a designer, show it on products. If you're a musician, show the album artwork, show the streaming profile, show the promotional materials. If you're a painter, show the work hanging in a gallery, show it framed, show it in a room, show people how it lives. And all of these mockups can be found online, by the way, because application creates context, and context create understanding. Then comes presentation, right? And this is where many creators accidentally undersell themselves, because a project isn't just the final result. A project is the story behind the result. Show the sketches, show the rough ideas, show the experimentation, show the journey. People connect with stories. Obviously, don't show too much of it. Don't make the journey more than the work or the result itself, right? Maybe show like 30% of the journey, but that helps build the foundation of the story. Then once you get to the applications and the final presentations, you have the foundation of the story that you've built on, and now you can carry that through with showcasing the rest of your project, right? So yeah, and once you have a presentation, you can build a portfolio. Once you and here's something important: a portfolio should be your best work, your most relevant work, your most intentional work. If somebody wants to hire you for branding, they should immediately find branding. If someone wants to see your photography, they should immediately find your photographs. Don't make people search. Make it easy, make it focused. But this is the department in which I struggle in, mostly because I'm multidisciplinary, so I'm still trying to find a way in which I can present my work better without the different mediums or the different industries get tangled up together, right? That's why I'm more on presenting myself as a creative and not just a logo designer or brand identity systems builder, right? And once you have a portfolio, essentially now we can talk about distribution, right? We can get into how do you distribute your work. And distribution is simply deciding where your work lives. For designers, you might find Behance more workable. So yeah, for designers that might be Behance. For artists, that might be ArtStation. For photographers, that might be Instagram or a personal website. For musicians, that could be just basically signing up with a good distribution site or distributor that works well for you. Obviously, that will be linked to other stuff like Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and other streaming platforms. But I like the fact that music, these days you just have a single distributor and it kind of spreads everything out there. But basically the platform matters less than the consistency, because work hidden on a hard drive creates zero opportunities, right? Work that people can discover creates possibilities. And eventually, all of this leads to the final stage: opportunity. Clients, collaborators, community, employment, collectors, partnerships, you name it, or even simply new friendships. The opportunities don't always come immediately, but they can only come if the work exists somewhere people can find it. And that's why I believe every creative project deserves a showcase. Not because you're trying to impress people, but because you're giving your work a chance to be discovered. Now, the good news is building these showcases has never been easier. Today we have free mockup websites, we have free portfolio platforms, and even AI tools that can help us create professional presentations with very little cost. So let's look at some practical tools you can start using right now. I'm sure you've realized that one of the biggest advantages creatives have today is access. 10 years ago, creating professional presentations often required either a lot of time or very expensive resources. But today, many of those tools are free, and a lot of those tools are very efficient. So for mockups, platforms like FreePic, Mockup World, Unblast, LS Graphics, and more can provide professional assets that help visualize your work. But AI has introduced another option. Instead of searching for the perfect mockup, you can create the exact scene you need. And that's where a simple system becomes useful. You can call it like a master prompt method. If you've used AI for however long or for a certain amount of time, you know that AI is not perfect, right? Sometimes it gives you completely wrong results. So a master prompt essentially works as like an anchor for the AI to stick to the very objectives that you're setting it to, so that even if you input other prompts or different prompts, it sticks to the master prompt official directive. So the idea is very simple. You just create one master description for your brand, then reuse it across multiple applications. For example, if I were creating mockups for Gravity software, my master prompt would describe the brand, the style, the mood, the photography quality, the overall aesthetics, and it would focus on the logo itself. Then only change the environment, right? A hoodie, a rooftop, a billboard, a store, a social media campaign. Those are the things you change, but you make sure that the logo, the master prompt has the logo, the brand, the style, the mood, the photography quality, and overall aesthetics. So that remains the same throughout the photos or throughout the generations, and then the only thing that changes are the products, the assets, the places, and the materials, like your hoodie, rooftop, billboard, storefront, social media campaigns and stuff like that. Those are the only things that change, but the brand stays consistent. The scenes change, and suddenly you have a complete campaign instead of just a bunch of random images. The same principle works for musicians. The same principle works for artists. The same principle works for photographers. The same principle works for Web3 projects. Build one strong identity, then create multiple applications around it. That's exactly what real brands do. These days it's just a whole lot easier and a whole lot cheaper, right? And it's exactly what we are doing with all of these projects, right? Like, even if you're working alone, it's easier and way more efficient than going it the normal route, because you have to also understand mockups. If you're gonna have to take the manual route, you have to understand how to use them, how to apply logos, how to sometimes utilize texture, because the logo and the mockup will be two different images, so obviously they will have two different makeups or two different textures, and you have to make sure that the logo's texture is like blends well with the image texture and stuff like that. So AI makes that whole process so much easier. Now, let's bring everything we've just talked about back to the gravity challenge, because theory is useful, but seeing it in practice is where things start making sense. So, let's look at how each of these projects fit inside the Creative Showcase framework. Not as logos, not as designs, but as complete creative projects, because the framework isn't meant for designers only. It's meant for creatives, and creativity comes in many different forms. So let's start with our first concept, Gravity Streetwear. With this logo, the idea was very simple. Create a streetwear identity from a single word. The creation stage was the logo. The creation stage was the logo development process. The application stage was placing the brand onto apparel, tags, shopping bags, social media campaigns, and fashion brands, posters, stuff like that. The presentation stage becomes the project showcase, right? Then the portfolio stage could be maybe like a Behance case study. The distribution stage could be a social media, a website, online store, or fashion community, posting it there or releasing it there, or distributing it there, right? And eventually the opportunity stage is where we could have potential customers, potential collaborators, partnerships, or even a real clothing brand, right? Turning this into an actual real clothing brand. And that is for the streetwear gravity logo identity. Now let's look at gravity systems. So here so this will be a tech brand, right? So the process is exactly the same, different project, a different audience, but the same framework. The idea becomes a technology company. The creation stage becomes the logo and identity. The application stage becomes websites, dashboards, mobile apps, conference booths, and technology environments, right? Those are the applications. The presentation stage could be becomes a technology case study, right? We could also create a case study and also distribute it or share it on Behance, right? The portfolio stage becomes a branding project, and then we have distribution stage, which could be Behance, LinkedIn, a personal website, or a technology community based platforms, sites and stuff like that, like your coding websites, or I don't know, stuff like that. And the opportunity stage becomes whatever that work attracts, right? The opportunity is whatever people, clients, or communities resonate with the brand or the idea that you've created, and you can find opportunities there, obviously. Now, we're gonna look at Gravity's Power Gear, our sports brand identity. Here we still use the same process. The same process happens again. The identity gets applied to training, apparel, gym accessories, equipment, marketing campaigns, and maybe like performance products. The logo becomes the brand, the brand becomes the project becomes a showcase, and then the showcase becomes something people can discover, right? And honestly, that's the biggest difference between a project sitting on your computer and a project creating opportunities. And simply put, it's visibility. Whatever project, whatever ideas, whatever you're creating, try to at least make sure that it's visible. Even if it's not perfect, anything that is not perfect can always be refined later. And of course, I understand that part of being a creative is also trying to discern what to put out there early and what not to put out early, because sometimes you truly have an original idea, and some people are just here to steal ideas, and so you should obviously look out for that. We're talking about projects that can be released, probably should be released, and then all the other projects that are still in building phase, you can already work on them while utilizing this framework to perfect the release of the project in question, or the product or the project that of which you are still working on, right? So you use this framework to create like your promotional materials, your promotional content, your active in building projects that are content that you can post about the current projects that you're building, because people can only appreciate work they can actually see. And as a creative, as a builder, think about building your own creative ecosystem. Something that I want you guys to think about is that I want you to stop thinking about individual projects. Start thinking about creative ecosystems, because every project you create should strengthen your creative world. It should strengthen your portfolio. It should strengthen your social media. It should strengthen your website. It should strengthen your content. It should strengthen your reputation. It should strengthen your archive. It should strengthen your opportunities. They are all connected. For example, this Gravity Challenge didn't just create 3 logos. It created 3 branding projects, 3 case studies, multiple videos, multiple social media posts, portfolio content, mock-up content, educational content, creative discussions, future opportunities, all in one idea. But it definitely created multiple assets, right? And that's how many creative businesses grow. Not by constantly creating new ideas, but by maximizing the value of existing ideas. A musician can create a song, a music video, behind the scenes content, artwork, professional material, live performances, short form content, and then a designer can create a logo, a case study, a mock-up series, a brand guide, a portfolio project, a showcase video, a social media campaign, all in one project. But you have to make sure that they create many outputs, and the more outputs you create, the more opportunities your work has to be discovered. Something that took me a long time to understand is that most successful creatives are not building projects, they are building ecosystems. And there's a big difference. A project has a beginning and an end. An ecosystem keeps creating value long after the project is finished. Think about it this way, right? If I create a logo, that's one asset. But if I document the process, now I have content. If I create mockups, now I have presentation material. If I create a project showcase, now I have portfolio content. If I create a video around the project, now I have educational content. If I share lessons learned, now I have community-based content. If I create downloadable resources, now I have value-added content. And suddenly, one project becomes many assets. And that's one of the biggest mindset shifts a creative person can make, especially today. Stop asking, what can I create? And start asking, how many things can this creation become? Because every project contains multiple opportunities hidden inside it. The logo is one opportunity, the presentation is another, the showcase is another, the content is another, the lesson is another, the community conversations, the portfolio pieces, the future opportunities, obviously, as well. And this doesn't only apply to design, right? Musicians can do this, painters can do this, photographers can do this, filmmakers can do this, who else? Writers can do this, content creators can do this, and even Web3 builders can do this, right? Every creative discipline can take one project and turn it into multiple forms of value. And the reason that's important is because attention is fragmented. People may never discover your portfolio, but they might discover your video. They might never discover your video, but they might discover your social post. They may never discover your social post, but they might attend an event, and that even leads them to your work, right? Every touch point becomes part of your creative ecosystem, and over time, those touch points start connecting together. Your projects connect to your portfolios, your portfolio connects to your community connects to your opportunities, and opportunities connect back to your future projects. That's when creativity becomes sustainable, because that's essentially what all creatives are looking for, right? Not because you're constantly creating more, but because you're creating systems around what you've already made, what you've already built. For a very long time, the creative journey was fairly simple. You create work, you build a portfolio, you show it to people, and hopefully opportunities followed. But today, the creative landscape is changing. The way people discover work is changing. The way communities form is changing. The way opportunities emerge is changing. And because of that, the way creatives showcase their work is also changing. Today, a portfolio is still important, but a portfolio alone is no longer enough, because people don't just want to see the work, they want to experience it, they want to understand it, they want to interact with it. And that's where things start becoming interesting. For many creatives, their first portfolio is social media. Instagram becomes a gallery, TikTok becomes a showcase, YouTube becomes a documentation platform, X becomes a place for discussions, Discord becomes a community space. A personal website becomes a home base. Each platform serves a different purpose. Each platform tells a different part of the story. And today, they form a larger creative presence. But we're also entering a time where creative work can exist in entirely new environments. Virtual worlds like this one, Decentraland, digital communities, interactive experiences, persistent online spaces. And that's one of the reasons I find platforms like Decentraland so fascinating, because they allow creatives to do something traditional portfolios cannot. They allow people to experience the work, not just view it. Imagine you're a painter. Instead of uploading images to a website, you create a virtual gallery. People walk through the space, view the work, discuss the work, experience the atmosphere, and imagine you're a musician. Instead of simply uploading a track, you create an event, a listening experience, a performance, a gathering place around the music, right? Imagine you're a designer. Instead of presenting mockups to a web page, you create an entire branded environment, a headquarters, a showroom, a creative exhibition, a virtual experience. The work becomes something people can enter, something people can explore, something people can remember. And that's why I don't think the future belongs to portfolios alone. I think the future belongs to experiences. Experiences create memories, memories create emotional connection, and emotional connection creates communities. And when people connect emotionally to what you're creating, they become invested, not just in the project, but in the creator. And that relationship becomes incredibly powerful, especially for independent creatives, because the future isn't necessarily about having the biggest audience. It's about building the strongest connection with the audience you do have. And that's where communities become important. Communities are portfolios, communities are showcases, communities are opportunities. Because when people gather around creativity, new ideas emerge, collaborations emerge, projects emerge, friendships emerge, businesses emerge, entire ecosystems emerge. And that's ultimately why I believe showcasing your work is so important. Not because you're trying to impress people, not because you're trying to chase numbers, not because you're trying to become famous, but because every creative work deserves the opportunity to connect with something. And that connection can only happen if the work is visible. So whether you're a musician, a painter, a photographer, a designer, a storyteller, or even just a content creator, or someone simply exploring creativity for the first time, remember this: don't just create the work. Create a place for the work to live. Create a place for people to experience it. Create a place for conversations to happen around it. Create a place where ideas can grow. Because creative projects eventually end, right? I'm sure we all know this. But creative ecosystems can continue growing for years. Because now they are not only fueled by your own creativity, but they are fueled by the ecosystem itself. And that might be one of the most valuable things we can build as creatives. By now, we've talked about projects, we've talked about portfolios, we've talked about creative ecosystems, we've talked about visibility, we've talked about communities, we've talked about opportunities, but maybe you're watching this and thinking, that's great, But where do I actually start? The answer is simple. It's actually simpler than you might think. The answer is just start where you are. Start with what you already have. Because one of the most common mistakes creatives make is waiting until they feel ready. Waiting until they have better equipment. Waiting until they have more experience. Waiting until they have the perfect project. Waiting until they have enough work. But creative ecosystems aren't built overnight. They are built project by project, piece by piece, step by step. So here's a simple challenge, right? Choose one project, just one. Maybe it's a logo, maybe it's a painting, maybe it's a song, maybe it's a photograph, maybe it's a video, maybe it's a story, whatever it is, right? Take that one project and run it through the Creative Showcase framework. And then ask yourself, what was the idea? How was it created? How can it be applied? How can it be presented? Where can it live? Who needs to see it? How can people discover it? Then build a showcase around it. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. And every creative journey starts with a single project. The creative challenge started with one word, one random word, gravity. And from that single word, we created 3 different identities, multiple mockups, multiple videos, portfolio content, educational content, creative discussions, and future opportunities. Not because the word was special, but because we chose to explore it. And that's something every creative person can do. You don't need permission. You don't need clients. You don't need a massive audience. You simply need a project, an idea, and the willingness to share it. Because every portfolio started with one project is the greatest decision you can do. Every business started with one idea. Every artist started with one piece. Every creator started with one upload. Every community started with one conversation. The question isn't whether your work is good enough. The question is, will you give it the opportunity to be seen? I mean, think about it. Opportunities really come from hidden work. Opportunities come from visible work. And visible work starts with showcasing what you create. So whatever you're working on right now, take the next step. Build the showcase. Tell the story. Share the work. And let the project begin its journey beyond creation. So, before we wrap up today's showcase, I think it's worth taking a moment to look back at where this entire project started. Not with a client, not with a company, not with a business, not even with a logo. It started with a random word, gravity. One word, one idea, one challenge. And the goal was simple. Can we take a single word and create multiple, completely different identities from it? And throughout this journey, we discovered that the answer is yes. Gravity Streetwear showed us how typography, culture, fashion, and audience can shape an identity. Gravity Systems showed us how the exact same word could become a technology company focused on innovation, systems, and future thinking. Gravity Power Gear showed us how That same word could become a performance-driven sports and fitness brand. 3 brands, 3 audiences, 3 different industries, 3 completely different outcomes. And yet every one of them began from the exact same starting point. That alone teaches us one of the most important lessons in creativity. Ideas are only starting points. What matters is what you do with them. Throughout this showcase, we explored typography, concept development, visual identity systems, logo construction, brand applications, mockups, presentations, portfolios, creative ecosystems, distribution, community, Web3, and creating opportunities. But perhaps the biggest lesson wasn't about the logos at all. The biggest lesson was learning that creativity doesn't end when the project is finished, because creation is only one stage of the journey. The real magic happens when ideas leave the canvas, when they leave the sketchbook, when they leave the software, when they leave the folder on your computer, and beginning interacting with the world, whether that's through products, communities, portfolios, content, or even through events or through virtual worlds like Decentraland. The work only reaches its full potential when people can experience it. And that's why showcasing matters. Not because you're trying to impress people, but because every creative project deserves the chance to be discovered. And every creative person deserves the chance to be seen. So if there's one thing I hope you take away from this entire creative series, is this. Don't stop at creating. Learn to present. Learn to showcase. Learn to share. Learn to build ecosystems around your ideas. Because creativity becomes infinitely more powerful when it has somewhere to live. Gravity streetwear, gravity systems, and gravity power gear. 3 identities, 1 word, countless possibilities. Thank you for joining me throughout this entire creative challenge, and for being part of another Pure Pixels creative showcase. I hope these projects, discussions, experiments, and lessons have inspired you to explore your own creative ideas and look at creativity from a different perspective. Whether you're a designer, a musician, photographer, painter, storyteller, content creator, or someone simply curious about the creative process, remember that every project starts somewhere, and sometimes all it takes is a single idea, a single word, a single sketch, a single decision to begin. As we continue exploring creativity throughout future showcases, we'll move beyond logos and branding into new mediums, new challenges, new experiments, and new ways of thinking. Because creativity isn't limited to one discipline, it's a mindset. And there's always another idea waiting to be explored. If you have questions about branding, design, creative direction, digital art, visual storytelling, photography, content creation, or other creative projects, feel free to reach out through Pure Pixels or Amaixen. And if you're working on your own creative journey, keep creating, keep experimenting, keep learning, keep building, and most importantly, keep sharing your work with the entire world. Thank you for watching. This has been Pure Pixels Creative Showcase. and I'll see you in the next project. Peace!